morning, good evening, good afternoon, everybody. It is Sunday, November 19th, just coming on 7 a.m. I know you guys are all getting ready for A, football, and B, the big Thanksgiving feast that you're going to have this week. A gentle reminder that for the first time in 8 years, I am going to be taking Thanksgiving off. So Tuesday, prior to the Ponzi scheme Nvidia reporting their earnings, I will be shutting everything down. I will still be reachable over the Thanksgiving weekend by email. I'll check in the chat room for any emergencies, but I will be completely offline. No charts, no updating anything, no nothing. I'm going back into the dark ages of no internet. Cannot wait for it. We'll be back on the weekend. It'll probably be a little bit later on Sunday, so I will get something out to you, but I will start you off here really quick. Last week was horrific. Absolutely horrific. You had we made money. Don't get me wrong. We made money. You had the CPI fake out complete bullshit pump Tuesday prior to the open. 47-point gap up, 49-point range, which I'll show you in a minute, was literally a 5-minute window. And after that 5 minutes, everything went sideways the rest of the week. 26 points, 24 points, and then on Friday, 20 points. Now, this is bringing us into context here because we are going into one of the 3 extremely slow weeks of the year. You have 4th of July, you have Thanksgiving, and you have Christmas. 3 very slow weeks every year. We are up 7.44% on the month. We now have 3 green weeks in a row. I'll cover that in a minute. However, what I want to show you here is, I'll get off this and go to here. And I'm bringing you to October, November, into the beginning of 2023. I missed a day here. Okay, you know what? Let's just do this right. One more day. Boop. There you go. So now you got the all-time highs. All right. So this is you coming off of the September drop in September of 2021, and then our structure heading into the end, the final 5th wave for our major wave 3 that we were counting at that time. 1, 2, 3, big 3. You're looking at dailies here. From that October 13th, just green, 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 fractional red day, couple of little red dings here right on October 26, 27, green, 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 straight up into November 10th. And then you came in here right up into November the 22nd, which will be significant when I show you in a minute. And you had a 5.25% drop. Purpose of showing that, well, yeah, spreads did well on the calls and the risks did play. Elongate crushed it on Friday. He got a $4 credit on 44.15, 44.10. He was out of it at $2. Went down to $1. Worked out, but you had to work for it. And that is just too much on a Friday, regardless of how much you can make. So this screenshot here, what I'm showing you is the week of Thanksgiving during 2022, which was our bottom in October, and we started to bounce going in there up into the 4,100 start of December. 28 points, 49 points on the Tuesday, then 35, and then here you go is the Friday, November 25, half-day session. It was a 13-point range. It was an absolute sleeper. So your prejudgment is, well, fuck this. I'm not going to waste my time on Friday. Well, I'm not even going to bother. I'd rather go wait in line and, instead of stealing merchandise that I'm going to run into the store to try and get, I'm going to actually run into the store and then go wait in line to pay a cheap price for merchandise that I could just go ahead and steal because that's the American way. This is the chart I was showing you. I'll bring you back here and reference you to it. Again, this is 2021 as we were going into that blow off top, not to use that word, that phrase, the same context of what we have right now. As we were ending our final wave into what we were looking for our top. This was your November 19th right here, November 22nd right here. And this here is your December the 3. Now, all I showed here was the week of Thanksgiving, just to show you what we've got. You top there, November 22nd on the Monday. You had a 37-point gap down and a 106-point drop on that half trading session Friday, November the 26th. So prejudging is all good and well, but considering what we've been through and where we are at, a little bit of prudence and having that time on your side, which I've shown with the March, the June, and the December of 2024 put positions, don't need to be sitting there in front of your screen, and you can still capture quite a bit of healthy, and I repeat that, healthy downside. So there were reports going around that there was a peace agreement, ceasefire. And as of, when is this? Yesterday, won't even mention the name, says there is no deal for hostages at this point. Then you have also Biden now starting to backtrack on a lot of comments saying that the new Palestinian Authority should be governed Gaza and the West Bank. Will not let anyone else take over that. Again, I don't want to get into politics. If you want to get into a political discussion, save it for fucking Thanksgiving and talk to whoever you want. You ain't got no conversation to have with me about it. So again, it brings you into context that there is a window for this to occur, and for very obvious reasons, it's going to lay on the shoulders of Nvidia. So we'll get right to everything. First and foremost, bring you back again. SPX, 3 green weeks in a row. We will go over that in a minute. We are up 7.44% on the month. We have now had a 323-point November, which tied in almost perfectly with the new moon, which was on Monday, November 13th. It's now a 417-point bounce, a 10% move on that bounce. Very first retracement, calculating from 23 sixes and so forth, 44.22. 44.22 would obviously bring you back to where your high was back on Monday of last week, filling that gap. So SPX, we get off here and we will go on to the 360. Now, this is looking at the detail of what we use on the daily, and I'm only able to go back to June of last year. But what I'm showing you here is you get an 8-point run, a 5-point drop, a 4-point run, percent, 4.7, 5-point drop. Nice big run up there into that October or that August high. And then your declines, which we already knew, we already played 10 points, 6 points, bigger drop, 15 points. Your bounce since then, scrolling around, 3-point drop, 5-point drop, 3, 2, 4. Your big 8-point drop into Christmas of last year, 2022. Your rally going into February, 3-point, 2-point, 2 points, 3 points on the way down, 2-point bounce, 6 points, 4 points down for a 9% correction into March. Coming off of March, your 3-point drop, 6-point run, almost 3 points, 3-point run, 3 points, 4 points, 2.5. Then we started getting really small as we had the Nvidia AI in May, and we finally broke that 41.95 impossible line going all the way back to September of 2022. and the drop started getting a little bit more shallow. You had a 1% drop, 4% rally, right up to that 44.34. 3-point drop. Then I didn't even track this because I don't even think it was 1%. And we went up to our top. And you can see the structure of our top. Very clean. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. Very clean, even though this was all nano negotiating. Now we come back down from our July highs, and 6 points, 5 points, 7 points, 4 points brings you down with another 6-point drop for our bottom there 3 weeks ago. And now we have gone on this 9.87% rally with zero structure at all. There's no structure whatsoever in this move. We've made our move up to exactly what we should have gone, which was around that 4,300 right there on November 2, November 3, right there. Perfect. Then we went sideways, hitting that 43.83, killing it. And our one and only dip in this entire move up was that 49-point drop when SoftBank was hacked and they couldn't clear the Treasury auction on that Thursday going back a week ago. As I mentioned in the email that you look back to on Friday, we were oversold because we went sideways for so long. Oversold on that little tiny dip, and there we went into Friday, into Monday. Nothing you could do. CPI comes last week, and what do you have? Nothing on Monday. Absolute nothing burger. CPI gap up, and after we got here, right at 10 o'clock in the morning on Tuesday, we have literally gone nowhere, hanging that 44.86, killing it off of this 45.12.94, just in that chop zone. So, wider view, keeping it wide, you have a unfilled gap going back here from the drop here in August. There is one unfilled gap that I've made aware to everybody, 45.77, 45.51. One unfilled gap. You also have a gap that's back here from January of 2022, which has never been filled, never even attempted, right there at 46.37, 46.63. So it's very clear your upside potential to end this is right up here around this 45.51, 45.77. For the short term minimum, is this thing finally over? Right here, your lows going back here to the CPI pump at 44.60 is your primary. Until you can get something below 44.60, you have absolutely nothing to be paying attention to as far as whether or not we have already hit what is coming, and what is coming is, nope, not that, but that. Our full moon. Our full moon is on November the 27th, and once again, going into context with things and looking at everything, we had our new moon, and our new moon was right there on the 13th. Couple of days off, right over here, very similar as we were over in July of 18. Did not get the pullback, instead got a nothing and continued upside, only making matters worse. Went over and did another drawing and looked at OPEX, and okay, here's your OPEX. So OPEX, not as identifiable, not in any way, shape, or form. However, it does correlate very well with the new moon because of their timing, but the bigger picture here is that we are coming up onto the full moon being on November the 27th. What's our reaction going to be coming off the full moon? I can't give you an answer yet because we don't even know whether or not the internet is still going to be on when we get to November 27th. SPY, same situation that we have, coming off of that low, because SPY and SPX are the same thing. That's what we're sitting with. We're sitting with what do we got going on here? And we don't have anything going on here until we get a breakdown below into this gap, which is 44.60, 446.30. Until that, there's nothing to discuss. You have your gap, which is up above 456.50, 453.50, which correlates to the SPX, which, yes, it very well could be reached for, but that's all that you've got. You don't have anything else to work with. So we bring on to the QQQ, looking at the same time frame on the QQQ. QQQ has come right back up to the 2022 highs. And again, putting it into context, 3 green weeks in a row, and you have gone 3 points, 3 points, 3.5 points, 2.6, and 2.8. Zero range on the QQQ. Zero. It has been a dead week on the QQQ. Absolutely dead. So thus, again, until that break takes place, minus 384.28, minus 383, there isn't anything up above other than where we opened in 2022 and where your all-time highs are, and everything is packed into that 7 stock arena, which is, as you know, Nvidia being one of them. So here's our Nvidia, which is going to be reporting earnings on Tuesday after the market closes, and then Wednesday you've got the biggest travel day in the United States. You have your holiday on Thursday. You have your half trading session on Friday. Let's try and do a little jingle, 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 little magic here and try and say, let's make 2021 and 2023 match each other and have that big drop on the half session Friday where nobody's there to pay attention to anyway because everybody's on holiday and everybody's out shopping and everybody's still hungover from food and alcohol from Thanksgiving. Possible. Very much possible with your QQQ Ponzi scheme. The last just move that we've had here off of that 400 bottom, and you know what, Naveen, if you want everybody to stand up on a podium and say, you were right about 500 calls on Nvidia, I can't imagine too many people that didn't already know about the QQQ calls, which had already reached their target, and because you had a blow off, run around in a circle and do your we're going streaking little dance because the 500 run, it's a fucking Ponzi scheme. The energy that went up here into this 500 and the retracement that came from the 500, not anything that nobody could see because 500 is so psychological. What are you going to get off of earnings? I can't answer that question because earnings haven't come out. But you do have your big gap over here from your May AI, and there was a little bit of the AI phenomenon taken out this week when you had OpenAI delete the creator of OpenAI over there on Microsoft, who are now trying to get him back, according to some of the reports that are out there. So Nvidia is on Tuesday after the market close. Nvidia will tell you what is going to really happen. But again, you don't have your full moon until November the 27th. Can go either way. And we're not only trading full moons, we are trading everything else and paying attention to the full moon. And here's your VIX. And your VIX has broken below 14. And your VIX has sold off on a Friday, which I was curious whether or not they were going to be able to sell it off on Friday. But they managed to get it a little bit of a dip and close it down there around 13. You got a couple of gaps that are up above, nothing to be worried about for now. But that big 1339 still not yet achieved, not yet reached. So paying very close attention over the course of the beginning of this week as to whether or not we can get that 1339. The answer to that is going to come there off of Nvidia, which on Nvidia, while we're on the discussion of it, there's really, nothing going on here. I mean, I'm going to throw a trade out there on Monday, which I think is worth taking the chance on. But your big open interest is on the 450 puts and on the 500 calls. And that's just stupid because it's literally somebody doing a massive strangle, and then there's a whole bunch of other people out here gambling, where you do have some open interest out here at 550 on the calls, not even bothering to look over on the puts, because looking over in the option chain on Friday, you had 700,000 calls trading, 400,000 puts. So the big trade at the end of the day was that somebody going into the 490 puts at $18, right at the end of the day there. Curious as to what happens with Nvidia, but to be quite frank, the market is open 252 days out of the year. Who honestly gives a shit about one company, which is a Ponzi scheme, and they're going to report before the holiday where you're supposed to celebrate that you're actually alive and be around with your family and friends, who are the ones that really fucking matter in this world. So IWM, 1, 2, 3, perfect ABC, C equals A, right to that 181.33, sell off, break, and close below 176. And then you had your gap up there on Friday and never filling that gap at 176. IWM is your low picking fruit, if you want to call it. Your low picking fruit to be able to get involved with instead of going over there and jumping around and dancing with the SPY and the QQQ in the short term, and 176 being your gap to be filled from Thursday. And then you start going into the big bullshit gap, which is below at 174. So IWM is going to be your bread and butter if you want to play the short-term stuff on the SPX. Again, we are where we are, so I will leave you off with, where are you? It's Presidents, isn't it? I believe it's Presidents. Yes, it is. It's Presidents. On my Presidents chart, what I have tracked here is the green weeklies, and I'll try and zoom this in. We have just put in our third green consecutive week. We had 3 green consecutive weeks as we went in to put in the highs there in July. We had 5 coming off of that AI right over here, which began in the middle of May. 5 green weeks. We had 5 green weeks coming off of that incredibly oversold March bottom. You had 4 over here going into your August highs. You had 3 over here going into your March highs of 2022. 5 as we went into that top before the 5% drop over there in November of 2021. 3, 3, 5, 4, 3, 5, 3. The point being is 3 doesn't happen that often. And when it does, it tends to be the ending of the ending. Never mind, we had 7 in a row on the way down over here in May of 2022. And that was, you had to go back 10 years to go and see when those things took place. But again, here we go. 3 down, 4 down, then you had your 2 down, here's your 3 up, and we are right back on the cusp of where we are. So again, your upside is very shallow, very minimal when you're talking about what you can get above. Up above, you can get yourself a about 20 to maybe 30 points up into that 45, into that gap, 45.77, 45.51. If you are going to get this, it's going to come to you with an overnight gap on Tuesday because of Nvidia heading into the Wednesday trading session. It's not going to come to you out of just the blue on Monday. It's not going to come to you out of the blue on Tuesday. However, don't forget, the market closes green on Mondays. It's closed green every Monday except one, which was only down by a couple of points going back to the beginning of the second half of 2023. So enjoy yourselves, enjoy your Sunday, enjoy everything about it. There is very little to be stressed about right now. There's very little to be aggressive in position sizing right now. And as I've shared, my March, my June, and my December of 2024s, I've shared with a couple of you on some one-on-one calls over the weekend as to the why and also the actual downside targets. Anybody have any questions? Always feel free, send me a message over there in Slack. I will reply to you immediately as soon as I see it. Enjoy your weekend. Have a beautiful Sunday.